He stumbled into the room, his face flushed and his eyes glazed over. "Aaron, why haven't you mowed the lawn yet?" "I was just finishing up my homework, Dad. I was going to go and cut it next. I just need to finish this assignment, as it's due tomorrow." "Homework? This is worthless. You think you're going to be somebody with this crap." He then grabbed the notebook I was writing in and ripped it up and threw the pieces of it in my face. It had taken me over 5 hours to finish, and now it was in shreds. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my temper in check, as I knew any kind of outburst from me would only make things worse. "I'll mow the lawn now." I stood up and headed for the back door, but before I could get there, he grabbed me by the arm and pulled me back. "You think you can just walk away when I'm talking to you?" He grabbed my arm as I tried to head outside to cut the grass, his fingers digging into my arm. I could smell the alcohol on his breath, and it made me feel sick. "Let go of me. You're hurting my arm." He stared at me for a moment, shocked that I had the nerve to talk back. Then, without warning, he slapped me across the face, hard enough to make me see stars. "Don't you ever raise your voice to me? Now get out there and do your chores, and so help me. If you do a poor job, I'll beat you until you can't see straight." Hi there, my name is Aaron, and I was 15 when I ran away from home. I had thought about it countless times before, but it had always felt like some distant, impossible dream. That day, though, it was like a switch flipped inside me. I knew I had to leave if I ever wanted a chance at something different, something better. You see, my grandmother died the day I was born. You might be wondering why I mention this. It's because my grandmother often helped my parents financially. When she passed away and I was born, I was seen as bad luck, as my parents blamed me for her death. My parents were the kind of people who shouldn't have been parents. My dad, Ron, was a massive bully. He was loud, violent, and very unpredictable. He was never happy, and was always like at any moment he could lash out, and usually for no reason at all. It really didn't take much to set him off. If I dropped a glass and accidentally broke it, he would hit me with his belt. If I didn't cut the grass the way he preferred it cut, I would get the belt. I honestly think he just enjoyed hitting me and would use almost any excuse in order to do so. And my mom, Teresa, wasn't much better. She didn't hit me, but she took special joy in saying hurtful things and damaging my confidence until there was almost nothing left. She would constantly say I was ugly or stupid, and that no matter what I did in life, that I would always be a loser. If you ask me, the pain she inflicted was so much worse than what my father did. The scars that she created have lasted much longer than the ones from my father's belt, that's for sure. The worst part was, they saved their worst for when we were alone. To the rest of the world, they were model parents. At church, they'd smile and shake hands, and people would tell them what a handsome son they had. Dad would slap me on the back and beam like he was proud, and Mom would fuss over me like I was the center of her world. But at home, it was a different story. One of the last straws came on a Saturday afternoon. Dad had spent the morning drinking, his favorite weekend pastime. I was sitting at the kitchen table, trying to finish up my homework. He stumbled into the room, his face flushed and his eyes glazed over. "Aaron, why haven't you mowed the lawn yet?" "I was just finishing up my homework, Dad. I was going to go and cut it next. I just need to finish this assignment, as it's due tomorrow." "Homework? This is worthless. You think you're going to be somebody with this crap." He then grabbed the notebook I was writing in and ripped it up and threw the pieces of it in my face. It had taken me over 5 hours to finish, and now it was in shreds. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my temper in check, as I knew any kind of outburst from me would only make things worse. "I'll mow the lawn now." I stood up and headed for the back door, but before I could get there, he grabbed me by the arm and pulled me back. "You think you can just walk away when I'm talking to you?" He grabbed my arm as I tried to head outside to cut the grass, his fingers digging into my arm. I could smell the alcohol on his breath, and it made me feel sick. "Let go of me. You're hurting my arm." He stared at me for a moment, shocked that I had the nerve to talk back. Then, without warning, he slapped me across the face, hard enough to make me see stars. "Don't you ever raise your voice to me? Now get out there and do your chores, and so help me. If you do a poor job, I'll beat you until you can't see straight." I knew that his threat was a genuine one. My face was already sore and stung where he had slapped me, and I knew there'd be a bruise by morning. But I didn't care. I'd had enough. That wasn't the first time that he had hit me, but I decided then and there that that would be the last time. I turned and walked out the door, ignoring his shouts behind me. I went straight to my room, grabbing my backpack and shoving in whatever I could find. Clothes, some cash I'd saved from odd jobs, and anything else of value that would fit. At 15. As I crept out of the house that night, I glanced back one last time. I wasn't going to miss it. The first few months on my own were rough. I slept in parks, on benches, in abandoned buildings, anywhere I could find a spot where no one would bother me. I scrounged for food, did whatever odd jobs I could find. It was hard, but I had my freedom, and that was worth every hardship. Eventually, I found work at a construction site. The foreman, Mike, saw something in me, I guess. Maybe he could tell that I was desperate for a chance. He taught me the ropes, and soon enough, I was making decent money. It felt good to be earning something for myself, to know that every dollar I had was mine and mine alone. I worked my way up from there. After a few years, I started my own small construction company. I hired people like me, folks who just needed a chance to prove themselves. I made a name for myself in the industry, took on bigger projects, and soon enough, I was running one of the most respected construction firms in the city. I had an apartment in a high-rise, a nice car, a decent life. I'd come a long way from that scared kid who ran away with nothing but a backpack. But just when I thought I had left my past behind, it came crashing back into my life. It was a Tuesday morning when I got the call. I was sitting in my office, going over some plans for a new project, when my secretary buzzed in.
Mr. Aaron, there's a woman on the line. Says her name is Teresa. She claims to be your mother.
The name hit me like a punch to the gut. I hadn't spoken to my parents since I left, hadn't even thought about them in years. I was curious what it was that they wanted after all these years. After all, they had never once tried to contact me even once until now. You would think that maybe they would have called the police at least and reported me missing, but nope, nothing of the sort. They cared that little for me. Put her through.
Aaron, is that you?
What do you want, Teresa?
Oh, honey, don't be like that. It's disrespectful to call your mother by her first name. But listen, honey, I've missed you. We've both missed you.
You missed me? Is that why you let Dad treat me like garbage? Is that why you looked the other way every time he hit me? After all the malicious things you said about me, do you honestly think I believe that you two monsters missed me? There was a pause on the other end, and I could hear her breathing, slow and measured. She wasn't used to me talking back, and I could tell that doing so had struck a nerve. She was doing her best not to lash out at me.
Your father and I, we made mistakes. But we've changed, Aaron. We're different now. We've done a lot of soul searching, and we want you to know how sorry we are for the way we treated you. And Aaron, darling, we need your help.
Help? What kind of help could you possibly need from me?
It's your father. He's sick, Aaron. He's really sick. The doctors say it's cancer. We can't afford the treatment, and, well, we don't have anyone else to turn to.
I felt a cold satisfaction settle over me. They needed me now. After all the years of abuse, all the nights I spent wondering if I'd make it to morning, they had the audacity to ask me for help. I'll think about it. Why don't you and Dad come by my office tomorrow? We can talk then.
Oh, thank you, Aaron. You have no idea how much this means to us. Goodbye.
The next day, they arrived at my office, looking older and more worn down than I remembered. My father was hunched over, a shadow of the man he used to be. Mom was clinging to his arm, her face pinched and pale. I knew that they assumed I would feel sorry for them, seeing them so frail, but it only made me more annoyed with them. After all, they had stolen away my childhood with their abuse, and now here they were, trying to financially steal away from adulthood. Aaron, you look good. I didn't respond. Instead, I motioned for them to sit down, leaning back in my chair as I watched them. They looked uncomfortable, like they didn't belong here. And of course they didn't. So, you need my help. What makes you think I even should consider doing so?
Aaron, please, we know we weren't the best parents. We made mistakes, but we're still family.
Family? Is that what you call what we had? It's taken years to undo the pain you two demons put me through. Both of them looked incredibly uncomfortable, and I could only assume the reason that they hadn't already left showed just how desperate they both were. My dad just glared at me, his eyes cold and hard. He didn't like being the one begging. He was used to being in control. We're desperate, Aaron. If you can't do this for us, then just say it. But we thought maybe you had some decency left. Decency? I'll tell you what, I'll give you the money. But there's a condition. Condition? What kind of condition? I want you to sign a document. It says that once you take my money, that both of you will do several very public announcements telling people about what you did to me. That you will go in front of the congregation of your church and announce just how evil you both were and are.
You can't be serious. That will ruin our reputation.
Well, it's up to you. What's more important? Your life or your reputation? Oh, come on, Aaron, we weren't that bad. How can you make us do something so cruel? Yes, you were. For crying out loud, Dad, I have scars on my body from where you hit me, and I spent years in therapy to stop feeling worthless and rejected. You two deserve so much worse. The least you can do is tell the truth. Let the world know who you really are. And if you don't do the announcements, and I do mean all of them, then you won't get 1 red cent from me. They exchanged a look, and for a moment, I thought they might refuse. But then Mom nodded, reaching out to take the pen from my desk.
Fine, we'll do it. We'll do.
They signed the papers, then left without another word, and I watched them go, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. I had taken control, turned the tables. They needed my money desperately, and I knew that if they went back on their word, that my lawyers would see to it that they would regret doing so. Over the next few months, I witnessed them living up to their part of the arrangement. They announced to their church the way they had treated me, and the truth of why I had ran away. When they were done talking, the priest was so shocked that he suspended them from the church. After that, they went on social media and kept repeating the stories about what they did to me, and they acknowledged the pain that it had caused. I knew they didn't actually regret anything, and they were still the same monsters that they had always been, but it was enough for their reputations to tank. People that had been friends with them all their lives turned on them and ostracized them. They quickly became pariahs in the community, and no one wanted anything to do with them. I took a dark satisfaction with knowing that they had committed social suicide, and all to just get some money. Ironically, though, a few months later, I heard that Dad had passed away. My mom tried to reach out to me again. I answered the call, and she begged for money. I refused unless she mowed my lawn. Shamelessly, she did, and I paid her for a day's work. The next day, when she came back to continue, the guards stopped her, and when she tried calling me, I didn't respond and blocked her number. I later heard that thieves broke into their house and stole most of the money they had saved, leaving my mom penniless. She ended up working for a garbage disposal company in her old age. Serves her right. I'd spent so many years letting their actions define me, letting their cruelty shape who I was. But now, I was the one in control. I had built a life for myself, a life that they could never touch. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.